Hi, I'm Robbie Lawler.
What's up, Fight Family? This is your favorite MMA coach, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Pedro Munoz.
Mike Brown.
Guys, I am Alexei Olenik. And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And this is We Want Picks.
And you're watching We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks. Hi, everybody from American DraftKings.
My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. Jacob and I are going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 56 fight card. We're going to give you our picks, we're going to give you our bets, and we're going to give you our fantasy plays. And if you want $50 free, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you. All you need to do, WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you $50, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, however you want it. And this is brought to you by EarnU. EarnU is the world's first sports and esports prediction game, allowing you to earn crypto risk-free. Check it out now at earnu.io. Jacob, we're back. 2-week break or 1-week break, I guess. 2 weeks since we've done this. I'm ready. 14 fights. It's kind of rough.
Two-week break. I'm still single, so all you females out there, ages 20 to 60, if you're looking for somebody for the summer, my name's Jacob. Hit me up on Instagram. We're feeling good, looking good. I mean, looking good. All right. I'm ready.
Well,
I'm
class,
loose and I'm ready. Here we go.
As usual, all class. So here we go. First up at UFC Vegas 56, we have Erin Blanchfield taking on JJ Aldrich. Erin Blanchfield is 8-1 overall. She's 5-0 in her last 5, and she's coming off that great win over Miranda Maverick. JJ Aldrich is 11-4 overall. She's 4-1 in her last 5, and she's riding a nice 3-fight win streak. And Erin Blanchfield is a nasty grappler, and she showed people just how good her wrestling can be as well in her last fight. She also has solid striking, but that is never her path to victory. Using her wrestling to get on top, work her grappling, and just control from there is always her path to victory. Erin's still young. She's still cleaning things up, but she's improving quickly, and honestly, by this time next year, she could be a contender at this weight class. And JJ Aldrich is a decision machine. She's a decision striker, or a decent striker, with good takedowns, really good top pressure if she does, she's able to get there. She fights well within her skill set, though, and she doesn't really take any risks, and that's why she has so many decisions. And she's primarily a striker, but she does have a negative striking differential, meaning she gets hit more than she hits other people, even though striking is her path to victory. But she does rely on her volume, just constant forward pressure, constant volume to get it done. And the most interesting thing about this fight, and maybe it's not super interesting, but for some reason in my head, like JJ Aldrich has been around forever, had a ton of fights, is sort of a veteran at this point. And then I'm doing the graphics, I'm doing the research, I'm like, yeah, that's right. She has 15 fights. Like, she really is not that experienced, hasn't been around that long. In my head, she had about 30, and I was factoring that in. And then once I start digging in, it's like, no, there's not really a big experience gap between these two. Obviously, JJ's had more UFC level opponents than Erin Blanchfield has, but I don't think it's going to matter much. I think the skill set is too wide of a gap for that to even be a factor. So I was really impressed with Blanchfield.
Clean it up. 2 weeks off. Let's clean it up.
It's a mess. I was impressed with Erin Blanchfield's last fight, her composure, her ability to just stick to a game plan. She just kept taking down Miranda, would control Miranda. I think it's more the same here. I think Erin Blanchfield absolutely dominates. And before I go to you, Jakey boy, a moneyline bet makes no sense at these odds right now, especially in women's MMA. What I do think might work here is, you guys always hear us talk about the plus 3.5 bet, where you buy a round, right? And all the person you're betting on needs to do is win a round on their own. There's also a minus 3.5 bet, where you're positive somebody's going to win at least a 30-27, not give up a single round. I think Erin Blanchfield, I think that's what we have here. I don't think Erin Blanchfield is going to give up a round. So we'll see what those odds are, but I might do a minus 3.5, and all I'll need Erin Blanchfield to do is win win inside the distance, or win a decision that's 30-27. And honestly, I don't think that's insane. What do you think? Oh, and if you want that bet, You're only going to get it at weonpicks.com/bets. We have 5 partners. BetOnline is the one and only partner that does those buy around or sell around bets. What do you think?
For God's sake, sign up. Use our code. Get your free money. JJ actually has a path to victory in this fight, and that is with pressure. Unfortunately, she is not one of those pressure volume strikers. She kind of just sits back. She's a very good striker, but she does kind of sit back at times, and that's why she is such a decision machine. And Erin Blanchfield, the way that she dominated Marina Maverick was absolutely impressive. The thing that she had going for her in that fight was I don't think anyone expected her to use the grappling as well as she did. So Marina Maverick, you could tell, was kind of thrown off with the grappling, with the wrestling, and the pressure in that right. JJ Aldrich is going to know what to expect in this fight, right? She's going to know that the takedowns, the shots are coming. And if you watch JJ, she has some pretty good sprawls. They're not the best. She doesn't have the best takedown defense, but she has pretty good takedown defense. So if you can pressure Erin, put her on her back foot to get those shots to be a little bit more telegraphed, get your sprawls, eke your way to a decision, she could, maybe win this fight. But, I mean, the play for this fight, with her last performance especially, was so impressive against somebody that is a better fighter than JJ Aldrich. I mean, all around. Marina Maverick is a better fighter. That surprised everyone. It surprised me 100%. So, Erin Blanchfield is the play in this fight. She's probably going to be able to get the takedowns and control JJ. But I do like that -3.5 bet that you're playing.
I don't see her giving up a round. Or actually the other way around. I don't see JJ being able to take a round. So, yeah, I mean, you going to follow that bet, or are you thinking of something else for yourself?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't bet anything that you would bet, to be honest with you.
Okay, well then.
Not the last few weeks,
Enjoy looking for bridge loans. DraftKings-wise, though, Erin Blanchfield, $9,600. That's a ton of money. That's like stoppage-type money. So I imagine she's going to score pretty well because she will get takedowns. She will get control. I don't know if she's going to get a submission win here. If you think she'll get a submission win in the first or second round, then yes, she's worth $9,600 in DraftKings. If not, and I don't think she does, I don't know if she's worth it. She'll get takedowns, she'll get control, but $9,600, you got to spend, I don't know. She's got to earn, 150 points to make that worth it? 120, 130? What do you think? I mean, maybe she is worth it.
She's going to be in my lineup. I think if I remember right, she was threatening Miranda a few times. I think at the end of the second or third round, she had an arm bar. Miranda was holding on for dear life. Please, God, don't take my arm. She's nasty, man. And to the fact that she's only 23 years old is insane. She is going to be a problem. She's going to be in my DraftKings lineup 100%.
Well, as long as she's got to improve the striking because eventually.
But does she?
Yeah, because you're not going to be able to take everybody down.
I know. And women's MMA, if you're a over the top wrestler in MMA, women's MMA, I don't know if you need to improve the striking. There's just such a wide gap that when people, I don't know, there's just not a lot of women's wrestlers, and if you can be one of those wrestlers, I don't know if she needs to, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Maybe she will be worth that $9,600 strike line, though. I think it's going to be less, frankly. 95 is a lot, and I understand Erin Blanchfield is going to spend a lot of time on top, but she does look for submissions instead of pounding away. So I don't think she'll get to past 95 strikes. And JJ Aldrich is going to be on her back and defending takedowns, so I don't think she's going to get past 62. What do you think?
1 second. Jester said Blanchfield trying to show some skin lately on Insta, so I don't know what you were saying. I got some research to do.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, you guys want to bet on that strike line, go to weonpicks.com/MKF. Monkey Knife Fight is daily fantasy. All you need to do is bet the more or less on a strike line, and you can triple your money. Stop creeping. We're moving on to the next fight, Jacob.
Oh, here we go.
Next up at UFC Vegas 56, we have Andreas Michailidis, or people like to, well, let me get through this. Andreas
Michailidis, isn't it?
Versus Rinat Fakhretdinov.
What was that?
A lot of you came into the comment section a couple months ago when we had 13 Russians on the card trying to correct how I pronounce these names. And I totally understand. I'm definitely doing it wrong. And I said, go to the Discord and do the pronunciations there. And then that's how I'll do it. Nobody did that. And then without fail, I got 10,000 comments on my Quick Picks video that I pronounced all these names wrong. It is what it is, guys. I'm doing my best. There's 29 consonants in there and 3 vowels. That's just what's going to happen. But Andreas,
what's a consonant?
Andreas is 13-5, 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off that loss to Alex Pereira. Rinat, Reno is 20-2 overall. He's on a 14-fight win streak, and he is making his official UFC debut. And Andreas Michailidis is a decent striker who likes to come forward and grind. He will work his way inside with big looping overhands and then try to drag you down to the mat. Everything he does has a lot of power, but they do come from really far away, which just leaves openings that can be exploited. He's coming off that loss to Alex Pereira, where he was able to take Alex down, but he couldn't hold him down. And then Rinat, insert last name here, is making his UFC debut after an impressive performance on Dana White's Looking for a Fight. He's a wrestler. He's got heavy hands and a willingness to strike. He's constantly pressuring forward, throwing big 1-2s, and then just bending over, grabbing your legs and working a takedown. And the takedowns are interesting. So obviously I'm a lifelong wrestler, or close to it. And as a coach, if one of my kids bends over at the waist and tries to pick up a leg, you scream at him. That's not how you do it.
Oh yeah, you can't do that.
Okay. That's not how you do it. You're doing it wrong. Rinat, that's exactly how he does it in these fights. And he's incredibly successful with it. And if anything, it seems to be preventing him from getting stuck underneath somebody. He's bending over, grabbing, picking up, instead of taking a shot, getting stuck on his knees. So either way, the technique is wrong if you're looking at wrestling. But for him, in MMA, it is working, and it's working flawlessly. He's taking people down pretty much no problem. And when he gets on top, he's just pounding away, and he's looking to TKO people more than for a submission. And Rinat's got 20 wins. 15 of them are stoppages. But if you look a little closer, you'll see that 14 of those are against guys with losing records or fewer than 5 fights. With that being said, he is coming off a win over a UFC vet, and his last 3 fights were against appropriate levels of competition. So this is the second fight in a row that Andreas Michailidis is being used by the UFC to showcase the talent of a hype prospect. And unfortunately, I think it's going to work for the UFC again. I see Andreas coming forward with the big shots, might try to get his own takedown, but Rinat's the better wrestler. He's probably got equal power. He's going to be able to get Andreas down, pound away. So I like Rinat to win here. These minus 275 odds, he is a UFC debut, and Michailidis does have some very real power in his hand, so I'll probably stay away from a bet here, but I do think Rinat gets this done. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Rinat, I think, is the real deal, especially in the wrestling and the grappling. But you guys got to be careful with this. I think the odds are a little bit wide. Andreas is a very underrated grappler. And if this goes to the ground, he's a little slick down there at times and knows what he's doing down there. So Rinat, UFC debut, if he gets over-aggressive, bad things can happen. So if you're putting Rinat in parlay pieces because you've seen all the highlights, because the highlights are fantastic, right? I mean, who was a Mr. Savage basically said his competition has been great, but he does what he's supposed to do against bad competition. That has just absolutely destroyed them. This is going to be a tough test for him, I think. I think this is going to be a drag out 2-3 rounds where he is struggling to get some takedowns, and on the ground, he's struggling to keep Andreas on the ground. And as you mentioned as well, if he can't get those takedowns, Andreas will throw bombs, man. He had that fight against Modestas that he lost because they opened up the cage and he fell back. You mentioned against KB Bowler, that was a fight that he won, but KB Bowler was like not really on the competition, so that kind of takes a step back for him. Against Pereira, he looked better. So we'll see what kind of Andreas shows up in this fight. I think he's an underrated grappler, so if this goes to the ground, he has a chance to survive and maybe get some weird submission, but I think the plays were not all the way. I think he is the real deal, and he's probably going to show that, but I'd be careful with those odds. I'd be careful with them.
Yeah, I mean, they are tricky, but DraftKings heavy favorite here, $9,200. He's another guy, he may be worth it. He could potentially get a stoppage here. We just watched Michailidis get stopped. He can get the takedowns, which are 5 points each, control time, so he could potentially be worth it in DraftKings. I don't think Michailidis is a very live underdog, but not thinking somebody's a live underdog and also not trusting the favorite are two very different things, right? So both of those things are happening for me right now. I think Rinat will win. Not enough to put my money on him. And I don't think Andreas is a live underdog, if that makes any sense. The Monkey Knife Fight strike line, 34 for Michailidis, 59 for Rinat. What do you think about that Monkey Knife Fight strike line?
I think this could be a lot longer than people think. I think this could be a more and more play because both these guys, even Rinat will. I know he's like the wrestler and the grappler, but he will throw bombs and he will exchange. I'd probably play them more and more.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, I think this fight probably will go a little bit, or at least, past 34 strikes and past 59 strikes. If you guys want to play that, we on picks.com/MKF. You can triple your money. They will match your deposit. And if you want $50 free, we on picks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. Next up, at UFC Vegas 56, we have Jeff Molina taking on Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Jeff Molina is 10-2 overall, 5-0 in his last 5, and he's coming off a nice TKO win over Daniel Da Silva. Zhalgas Zhumagulov is 14-6 overall, 2-3 in his last 5. He's coming off that knockout loss to Manel Kape. And Jeff Molina is a really good striker who has no problem getting into a war. He uses his kicks really well for range and to engage. He'll work his opponent's legs, he'll work their bodies, and that's all just to slow them down. And he does a really good job wearing his opponents out and making sure that they'll have issues later in the fight. He has a ton of volume and he's always working forward. He does have power, but not necessarily like one punch get slept power. He has the type of power that'll wear you down as the fight goes on and you start to feel it. Zhalgas Zhumagulov, is very tough. He's got solid power himself. He's very good wrestler. His goal is always to just throw big looping punches, get you to react to that so that he can work in a takedown. And the stats are I don't want to say deceiving, but they're a little bit deceiving because while he does average more than 1 takedown per fight, his last fight he almost averaged 2. He only has a 20% takedown accuracy, but if you watch him fight, and I've mentioned this before, he is a chain wrestler, so he'll take a shot, he's not going to get it, he'll transition to the second, transition to the third, transition to the fourth, get that, and then now he's at 20% accuracy, even though he is a very good wrestler, and these takedowns do add up throughout the fight. And it's an interesting fight because I tend to lean towards wrestlers in these type of matchups, right? Zhalgas, tough wrestler. Jeff Molina, he's a striker who uses a lot of kicks. That's tailor-made for a wrestler, but Zhalgas can be chinny, and we've seen Molina get taken down 5 times in 3 fights, but he wins. He wins those fights even though that happens. So I'm going to lean Molina here because in 2 of those 3 fights where he was taken down multiple times, he was able to keep the pressure, work in his control, take care of the striking, and he won those fights, and he won them by decision. It's not like he was getting taken down, losing, and relied on a big punch. He still managed to pull off decisions, even though he was taken down 2-3 times in a fight. I think that's more the same here, but I do think he needs to be careful. He loves kicks, and this is just not the type of guy you want to be throwing kicks out there. Or if you're going to throw a kick, it's got to start a combination. It can't end one because then it'll be left hanging there and somebody will snatch it up. Jakey boy, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think the takedowns are going to be a huge issue for Jeff Molina. He's a guy that I'm a big Jeff Molina guy. He's so composed inside the octagon. When he gets taken down, he knows to get back to his feet. He doesn't mess around. He gets to the cage. He tries to get back to his feet. There's no pulling guard. There's no weird stuff. Let me get back to my feet because I know I'm a striker, and he's very, very good at that. And that's why he wins those decisions, even though he's getting taken down, because he gets back to his feet. You mentioned the lack of kind of one-punch power. I actually love the fact that he doesn't use his power until he really needs to. He will sit down on a punch, but he's not one of those guys that's just throwing wild all the time because those guys get in trouble and they get tired. He's a guy that, as you mentioned, his volume, boom, 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 boom. But when it's time to sit down, when he gets his timing and he sees those openings, he will sit down on a punch and he will hurt people. And his chin is great in that right. You saw that against that Key Lang fight. He got cracked a bunch, and he's willing to exchange, and his chin is held up to this point. We'll see if Zhalgas can kind of catch him because he hasn't been knocked out yet, but, this will be a good test for Jeff Molina's chin if it comes to some big exchanges, because I saw that with Zhalgas in the Manel Kape fight. He was cracking Manel Kape. It seems like Manel Kape is a guy that is always losing the fight and then finds out and all of a sudden wins the fight. Against O'Day, O'Day's on this card. We'll mention that as well. O'Day was also beating Manel Kape, and then Manel Kape finds the finish. Same with Zhalgas. Zhalgas was lighting that dude up. And we'll see if he can light up Jeff Molina in that same way. Maybe he can get those takedowns. I don't think the takedowns are going to be an issue. I'm a Jeff Molina guy all the way. I love his composure. I love the way he fights. I think that you mentioned the kicks. I think the leg kicks are going to be a big issue for Zhalgas in this fight. If Jeff Molina can light up that front leg, those takedowns are going to be even harder to get. I would attack that front leg early. Use your volume, use your experience. It might be a decision win, but it's going to be a win for Jeff Molina.
Yeah, I do think Zhalgas is one of the more live guys on this card as far as underdogs are concerned. Very clear path for him to win this fight. Shoot takedowns, tons of control. But again, I don't see him winning, but listen, when we're talking underdogs, he is one of the more live underdogs. $9,000 from Jeff Molina, definitely a no. I'm definitely not going to do it. I don't see him stopping Zhalgas. If he does, maybe it's late. We just broke down 2 fighters before this that could potentially score way higher than Jeff Molina. And again, I think Zhalgas is pretty live. You seem to agree with that, even though we're both picking Jeff Molina here.
No, I don't think he's very live at all, honestly.
Okay, but you did thumbs down to Jeff Molina not being worth $9,000.
No, I was thumbing down to you saying he was live. But I still wouldn't play. I wouldn't play Jeff Molina, no.
Oh, okay. And the Monkey Knife Fight strike line, this is one of the few that I'm going to stay away from. Realistically, this is a very good line. Jeff Molina could absolutely land that many strikes. Zhalgas swinging at air. Jeff Molina lighting him up, circling. I don't necessarily trust this strike line, so I'm not going to play that. If you do, weontpicks.com/MKF. And if you want $50 for free, weontpicks.com/bets. We have 5 different betting partners. Sign up with any one of them, make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you. weontpicks.com/bets. Next up at UFC Vegas 56, we have grappling Tony Gravely taking on Johnny Munoz Jr. Tony Gravely, 22-7 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off a decision win over Simon Oliveira. Johnny Munoz Jr. is 11-1. He's 4-1 in his last 5, and he's coming back after almost a year away from the cage. And Tony Gravely is a wrestler who just loves to come forward with volume and power, and then he just transitions into his wrestling so that he can work some old school ground and pound. He's very strong. He uses his strength really well for his takedowns and for damage when he gets on top. Tony's big issue is that he gasses out. He has questionable submission defense. He averages almost 7 takedowns per fight, which is just an obscene number. Like, that's a ridiculously high number. And there's just no secrets as to what this guy's going to do. Johnny Munoz is a BJJ black belt. He's got decent striking. He's got solid takedowns of his own. He throws everything with 100% effort at all times. But like most BJJ guys, BJJ grapplers, his striking is really just there to set up his takedowns and his grappling. He uses both front kicks and side kicks well to manage range and to keep his opponents at distance. But he can be a bit slow or lazy with those kicks, which could lead to takedowns. Sometimes he just kind of tosses them out there, leaves them there for a minute, and that could definitely be a problem against somebody like Tony. With that being said, his grappling is very slick, both on top and off his back. And I love Tony Gravely in this matchup. His wrestling should absolutely be able to get this to the ground. His top pressure is incredible once he gets there. My problem here, or the hesitation here, is that 5 of Tony's 7 losses are by submission, and 7 of Munoz's 11 wins are by submission. And I don't normally just pull up Tapology and go, ooh, he loses by submission, he wins by submission. Bing. I don't normally do that. But it is concerning here because this will 100% end up on the ground, and Tony Gravely 100% needs to worry about those submissions, and he's fallen to that in the past. But this could look exactly like Tony's last fight, where he just blew through Simon Oliveira with an insane 11 takedowns. He blew through him, and Simon's just as good of a grappler, or not, if not better, than Johnny Munoz. He had 11 takedowns in that fight. Or this could look like the Brett Johns fight, where he himself was taken down 6 times, and then he was submitted. So Tony Gravely is a kill or be killed type wrestler. If Johnny wants to come forward, shoot his own takedowns, he could have success. I don't see it. I see Tony Gravely working the takedowns, getting it done, and I will be biting my nails the entire time to make sure he doesn't get submitted. But I think this is a very close fight. These odds are probably pretty accurate. I think this is a pretty close fight. You're literally biting your nails. What?
Yeah, so I'm going with Johnny. He might end up being lock of the week. We got to tune in for Wednesday, the lock of the week video. I really haven't made up my mind yet. And what scares me is, and I keep referencing these fights over and over, but this could be Tracy Cortez, Melissa Gatto, where Melissa Gatto is just looking for submissions the whole time but gets controlled the whole fight. We saw that again last week. Everyone was so high on Polyana Viana. Oh, Polyana Viana's going to submit Ricci. She's going to submit. And what happened? Ricci just controlled the positions the entire time. It's so hard these days to submit people off your back. And that's why if you're Johnny in this matchup, you can't be the guillotine guy. You can't be the guy that's just trying to pull a guillotine and you end up on your back and then he's going to control. Because if Tony ends up in full guard or half guard, you're going to struggle in those positions, right? He's very, very good at controlling those positions. Obviously, anything could happen. Weird things could happen, maybe an armbar or whatever. But if you're Johnny in this matchup, on the takedown attempts, try to scramble out of those. Try to defend the takedowns and scramble and get positions out of that. Don't be the guillotine guy, because if you're the guillotine guy, you'll be Melissa Gatto, you'll be Polyana Viana, you'll be threatening the entire time, but you're going to lose a decision. I'm a Johnny guy. I like Johnny. I think he's going to pull it off because I don't see him being that guillotine guy. But if he's going to be that guillotine guy and up on his back for 3 rounds, he could easily lose the decision. So I know a lot of people are very, very high on Johnny. And I warned you guys on Melissa Gatto, even though I picked Melissa. I warned you guys on Polyana Viana when I picked Ricci. I'm telling you right now, be careful with Johnny. I'm going to pick him. He might end up being the lock of the week because I think he might pull it off. But this could be one of those situations where he's just on his back, looking for submissions the whole time. And although he's the more threatening guy, the judges will not give you that fight when you're on your back. So I'm going to be with Johnny. I'm going to pick Johnny, but I agree with you, Angelo. This could be one of those Tony Gravely. Just take him down, control him, and win by a boring decision. So be careful with Johnny, guys. I understand why you're going to pick him. I'm going to pick him. He might be lock of the week. Tune in Wednesday, but be careful.
Honestly, the bet here, and you guys know I love this bet. I actually just hit it with Chase Hooper. The bet to place here is wins inside the distance, decision, no action on Johnny Munoz. Because Tony Gravely will win a decision if he wins this fight. It'll be a controlling, defending submission, stay on top decision. That's how Tony Gravely will win this fight. But if Johnny wins this fight, it will be a win. It'll be a stoppage. It'll be a submission. So what that bet means, win inside the distance, decision, no action, is if Johnny Munoz wins inside the distance, you get paid. If there's a decision, you get a refund. The bet never happened. There is no action. You didn't bet. I'm probably going to do that. We'll have to see what the odds are. They're probably not going to be spectacular. But if that's minus 150, something to that effect, I think that's absolutely worth it. So I'll see what those odds are. If you want to check it out, wewantpicks.com/bets. We have 5 partners. The one and only partner that offers that safety net inside the distance decision no action bet is BetOnline. So go through there, click on that link, sign it up, and we'll send you $50 as a thank you. And as far as DraftKings are concerned, Johnny's not that cheap, $7,800. Yes, he's an underdog. But if you like Johnny Munoz to win, the odds are almost even. Plus 115 is almost even money. But $7,800 is, it's less than even. He's not true underdog. He's like real middle of the road as far as DraftKings are concerned. You going to put him in your lineup?
If it's a single entry lineup, I don't know if I like it. Multi-entry, I think he's definitely got to be in a multi-entry just for the the Hail Mary submission. But as far as like just in a loss, he's not going to score well in a loss, right? I think we both agree that if he loses this fight, he's not going to score well. Maybe with a couple sweeps or something like that. 5 points.
Yeah,
it's tough for a single
stoppage.
Yeah, it's tough for a single entry lineup. He probably is going to be in mine though.
Yeah. Well, and the Monkey Knife Fight strike line, more, I think, because I do think Tony Gravely is going to get on top a whole bunch, and he's an old school ground and pound guy. He just starts going at it on top. Old school ground and pound guy. So I think it's going to be more of that. So I don't think that's an issue at all for him to get past the 63. But Johnny Munoz, 55, that one's tricky. But I do think he'll get to it, right?
Off his back. I mean, he's very aggressive. Even if he's not working for submissions, I mean, he's going to be throwing elbows and stuff. He's very active in his guard and everything. So those add up quick.
And these are not significant strikes. It's literally any strike, pitter patter, anything counts towards this strike line. So if you want to check that out, you can literally triple your money if you get these correct. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. If you sign up, they'll instantly match your deposit, and you literally just play more or less on these strike lines. So, and we just got a comment from Z Tark saying Johnny Munoz win inside the distance decision no action is plus 110. His betting line, money line, is plus 115. So
Yeah,
for
I'm gonna
basically
take
the
out
exact same line, you get a
alone.
cushion there. He doesn't have to win the fight. So yeah, win inside this is no action. I'll
About
probably place that after
$20,000
this.
loan, which is 2 units.
Told you you'd be looking for a bridge loan. Next up at UFC Vegas 56, we have Benoit Saint-Denis taking on Niklas Stolze. Benoit Saint-Denis is 8-1 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a loss in his UFC debut. Niklas Stolze is 3-2 in his last 5, riding a 2-fight loss streak. And Benoit's a very good wrestler with really well-timed shots and tons of pressure on top. He isn't a cage grinding wrestler. Like, he's an actual lower your level, shoot a double leg, attack the hips
Attack the
type-
Hicks. I take that personally. I take that very personally.
We're invading the South. We live in the South. Don't come for us. Anyway, he's a legit wrestler who uses his wrestling. He ducks, shoots, and goes from there. When he gets it to the ground, he's got very good pressure, and he works submissions well. He has a ton of power on his feet as well, and he takes that power with him to the ground. Lots of pressure. Super solid on top. Niklas Stolze, he's a solid striker who has almost 20 professional kickboxing matches as well. He uses his kicks well in his fights to set up strikes or even set up his grappling. Even though he is an experienced kickboxer, he does have solid takedowns and a very capable ground game. He has used it in 6 of his 12 wins. He's looking for his first UFC win after being knocked out in his last fight and out-grappled in the one before that. And Stolze is a dangerous striker, but he's not been able to find that rhythm yet in the UFC. I think this matchup is probably more of the same. I think Benoit works in his wrestling and grinds out Stolze the same exact way that Ramazan Emeev did to him. The only thing that worries me is how incredibly hittable Saint-Denis is, because if he lets Stolze hit him 167 times like his last opponent did, he might be put out. So Saint-Denis is the pick because of the grappling, but this is a really tricky fight with 2 guys looking for their first UFC win that I really don't have a whole bunch of confidence in. What are you thinking, Jacob Heimer-Schmidt?
Yeah, I 100%. I think the play is Benoit in this matchup. You saw in his last fight how good he was in the first round with those takedowns. You saw him kind of get tired. He never really gave up, but you saw him kind of get tired in the second and the third rounds. He was still, he's still trying for those takedowns, still working hard. I think that was more of a UFC debut, kind of adrenaline dump type situation. It didn't look like it was exactly like cardio, because you could see he was still in it the second and third rounds. He ended up losing the decision, but I felt like it was more of an adrenaline dump. I wish that, you mentioned he has very good takedowns. He also is like a decent strike. He will strike, but he's one of those guys that he's either striking or he's going for takedowns. There's not a lot of mixture where he's striking to go for takedowns. That's why you see a lot of good grapplers, a lot of good wrestlers. They hide their wrestling behind the strikes, right? Especially Khabib. Khabib throws this like really, really good kind of lead uppercut into the takedowns. A lot of people hide their takedowns. He's either striking or he's wrestling. If he can kind of clean that up a little bit, he could be a really, really good fighter, because his wrestling is so good, but sometimes it gets a little labored, a little telegraphed. And Stolze, as you mentioned, knows what he's doing in those situations if they are a little bit telegraphed. So Benoit is the play. I think he is able to get those takedowns, but this is a little bit closer than I think people probably realize. Stolze is, as you mentioned, in his striking is good. You know, Emeev was able to get some takedowns pretty easily on him. So you look at that and you see the path to victory for Benoit. But Stolze is a little bit of a dangerous guy. You mentioned the submission wins as well. So Benoit's got to be very careful in this matchup. Don't blow your load early as you did in the last fight. Take your time, mix in the striking to get the takedowns. Don't stand up and strike with the guy, but mix in the striking to get the takedowns, get him to the ground, and do what you do on the ground. So I agree. I'm picking Benoit. I don't feel real great about it. I'm not gonna. It's not like a parlay piece for me, but I'm going with Benoit, and I think he gets it done. He's a tough dude. I mean, his nickname is God of War. He's a tough dude.
Yeah, I mean, he's just so damn hittable is the problem. But yeah, I think we're basically on the same page here. The comment section is interesting. People are on a polar opposite extremes, ridiculously confident in both guys, which is always funny to see. I love, because you know what that means? That means on Sunday, after the video, there's no matter who wins, there's going to be 1 million comments. Told you, idiot. Told you, moron. Just everybody yelling at each other because everybody's so confident on their side in this fight. But I do think it's a pretty close fight, and we'll see what happens. Very hittable versus pretty good at hitting people. DraftKings, I'm not touching this at all. We have 14 fights. We have 28 fighters to choose from. You don't need to pick one of these guys. You agree?
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch that. I mean, they're both reasonably affordable, so one of you people
We're
in the
agreeing
comment
too
section,
much. I don't like this so far. Have we picked against each other? Oh, yeah, the one.
Yeah, we did.
Tony Gravely.
Yeah. People in the comment section are absolutely positive in their person to win. Well, these prices are pretty affordable, so if you're running some DraftKings lineups, grab your guy if you're that confident. The Monkey Knife Fight strike line, I think it's more and more. I think this fight probably goes to a decision or close to it. Benoit is very hittable, so he is going to be hit more than 44 times. And Stolze, I think Benoit can get 62 strikes off. So I think this is a more Monkey Knife Fight line. What do you think?
It probably is.
Yeah. So you want to play that line and try to almost triple your money? We on
Monkey Knife Fight, sign up. Woo!
Yep. But through our link. Otherwise, we get nothing for it. And that's WeWantPicks.com/MKF. And if you want 50 free bucks, $50 for free from me to you, WeWantPicks.com/bets. You sign up, you make your deposit, and I send you $50 as a thank you.
It's very easy, guys. It's free money.
It is. It literally is free money. Next up at UFC Vegas 56, we have Ode Osbourne taking on Zarrukh Adashev. Ode Osbourne is 10-4 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. He is alternating wins and losses. Zarrukh Adashev is 4-3. 4-3, and he's in the UFC. And this is not his first fight in the UFC either. He's 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off his first UFC win. Ode Osbourne is a southpaw striker who uses range well to keep people at the end of his punches. He has a ton of power and great finishing ability, especially at his new home here at 125 pounds. He was a 145-pounder, and this is his third fight down at 125. That is a big, listen, you go from heavyweight to light heavy by cutting 20 pounds, no big deal. Light heavy down, yeah, but 20 pounds from 145 to 125 is absolutely incredible. This is his third fight here. He has 3 wins in the UFC with takedowns in 2 of them, and he might need to use that in this matchup because Zarrukh Adashev is a kickboxer who made the transition to MMA. This week off really has my tongue all tied.
I love the green M&Ms.
Okay. You're probably allergic to peanuts, so you have to eat original flavor, and I feel sad for you.
I'm not allergic to nothing, except for women, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Success. Zarrukh Adashev is a kickboxer. He made his transition to MMA, but he hasn't really had a ton of success there just yet. When you watch his fights, it's really obvious he's a kickboxer because his ground game just is almost non-existent. But if he can keep fights standing, he's very dangerous because he also possesses some real power. And this should be a clear win for Ode because not only does Ode have grappling if he needs it, but he also has his own insane power. And we've seen Adashev have issues with power and volume. But the reality is that Ode did not look good in his last fight. He looked slow. His punches were all very looping. And, a fast technical striker should be able to get inside of those looping punches and have success. I just don't think Adashev is that guy. I think Ode is too dangerous here. Ode is the pick. 4-3 Adashev, he just didn't become what they wanted him to be. And that kickboxing to MMA transition because it's not even like, last thing, look at that takedown defense, 100%. So if he was 4-3 and his losses were because he was taken down constantly and held down, and now they gave him a matchup against a striker, well, okay, that's great. That's very different. Let's look at it. He's getting outstruck too. I honestly don't know why he's been given this opportunity. You're making faces. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually. I know this is not going to be a popular pick. I'll tell you that right now. And I'm a Ode fan. I'm not an Ode hater. I picked Ode versus Manel Kopp. He was destroying Manel Kopp until he ate that knee. His last fight, as you mentioned, didn't look fantastic. He ended up the third round on his back. I think it was like the entire round. That was not a good look when you were trying to wrestle, and he was able to get the decision win because he was able to get the wrestling in the beginning. But Adashev, honestly, to me, might be one of the best 4-3 fighters I've ever seen in my life. He was a 16-3 kickboxer. He actually could have had a first-round sub versus Benoit, which is kind of what worries me on the O'Day side, because O'Day is a wrestler, but he's not like a really dominant wrestler that, I mean, I don't know if he's been caught yet, but he can get a little sloppy in his takedowns. You know, if the guillotine's there, we saw Adashev against Benoit snatch up the neck. If he had more time in the first round, he probably is able to get that submission win. If you're O'Day, you got to avoid, and you kind of mentioned it, the path to victory for O'Day in this fight is probably the wrestling, because you got to avoid the firefights, because Adashev will throw bombs, man. That guy will sit in the pocket and throw bombs. And he actually got dropped. I think he got clipped and dropped against Benoit, maybe in the first or the second round. But he was able actually to show his scrambling ability after he got dropped. He got dropped. Benoit tried to grab him, take him to the ground. He's actually able to scramble pretty well back to his feet, even when he was hurt. So I like seeing that he looked like he knew what he was doing, even when his mind was a little bit clouded. I think O'Day's going to have some issues in this fight. And if he's not able to get those takedowns as clean, I don't think he's going to be able to get those clean takedowns. We saw him kind of gas and get tired, end up on his back in the third round. Adashev, I know it's 4-3, and people are going to be all over me for this pick, but I'm going Adashev in this matchup. I didn't love what I saw from O'Day, the way he finished his last fight. I don't know if the takedowns are going to be there, and if he gets into the firefight, we've seen him get knocked out before, and Adashev, he's got some real power in his hands, so it's not going to be popular. It might look stupid. I'm going Adashev.
Yeah, but I also, I'm not saying O'Day's path to victory is grappling. I'm saying he has grappling in his back pocket if he wants to shoot a takedown or mix it in, because I think he can outstrike Adashev. I really do. Adashev has
distance,
also,
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if it's a distance, because you saw that with versus Manel Kopp, right? He was able to in and out, boom, boom. He looked fantastic versus Manel Kopp in the strike before he ate that knee. I don't think he's going to be able to avoid those firefights, man.
Well, and we've also seen Adashev have issues with power as well. So it's not like he's got an iron jaw and he can hang out and make the fight ugly, because he too can get put out. So, yeah, I mean, listen, minus 180, I do think that's a bit extreme, because we watched him get put out cold against Manel Kopp, a good striker. And that could happen here. I just don't think so. But yeah, I mean, the fight's probably closer than the odds, but I'm still on the O'Day Osbourne side. $8,900 to $7,300. Man, that $8,900 is only worth it if you think he wins by knockout, which he might. $7,300, you gonna spend that on Zarrukh Adashev?
I just saw Josh Locks. Apparently, he just gave you $20. He says not for me, so
$20 from Josh Locks. No tip for Jacob. Angela, this is all for me. I will make sure. Don't worry. I got a nice spreadsheet detailing everything. I will make sure this is highlighted, and none of it goes to Jacob. Thank you very much, Josh Locks. And hey, Saturday's my birthday.
Somebody's got to help me pay my rent. Somebody's got to step up, and I mean, rent's due tomorrow, guys. Some rent's due tomorrow. That 20 could have helped.
Saturday is my birthday, so I'm keeping that as a birthday gift. And Jacob, you can crash on the couch if you want to for a little bit. Where were we? $7,300. Zarrukh Adashev. Thanks again, Josh. $7,300. You gonna spend that?
No. It's a flyer for Adashev. If O'Day, I like O'Day. If he wins, great. I like O'Day, but I just think that he get a little bit. I didn't like that third round for him last fight. So, but no, I'm not gonna play Adashev.
Okay, I hear you. The strike line 67 to 56. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching that strike line. This could be a super quick knockout or 3 rounds of swinging. I'm not touching that strike line at all. Do you have any opinion whatsoever?
It is dangerous. I agree.
Yeah, I'm not touching it. So don't worry about that strike line, but do worry about $50 in your pocket. WeWantPicks.com/bets. You sign up, you make a deposit. I send you $50 as a thank you. Next up at UFC Vegas 56, we have a last-minute scramble, a little bit of a shuffle going on here. We've got Damon Jackson now taking on Daniel Argueta. Damon Jackson, 20-4 overall. He's 4-1.
Hold on. Jester, $5 towards the rent. We appreciate it. Rent's due tomorrow. We appreciate it, Jester. I assume that's for me, so make sure you write that in your stupid little spreadsheet. $5 for me.
Jester with the super chat for Jacob. Thank you very much, Jester. Damon Jackson's taking on Daniel Argueta. This fight was put together just last week. Damon Jackson's 20-4 overall. He's 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a submission win about 2 months ago. Daniel Argueta is 8-0. He's 5-0 in his last 5. He's coming off a tough fight just 2 weeks ago. Maybe come fight night, it's 3 weeks, but he just won a split decision. An important thing to note here, Daniel Argueta is coming up in weight. He's a 135 pounder. He's coming up to 145 for this fight, and it is short notice. And Damon Jackson's a very good grappler. He's an opportunistic grappler, meaning he snatches things up in scrambles instead of plotting, knee on belly, side pass, and plotting through techniques. He is willing to slug it out at times, which can be an asset for him depending on who the matchup is. And he's coming off a submission win against Kamuela Kirk, where his boxing was really clean and technical. He doesn't have much power, but he does land some heavy shots and then immediately work for takedowns. Daniel Argueta, I mentioned he's stepping up on short notice after Derek Minner dropped out, but he did fight 2 weeks ago. It'll be 3 weeks on Saturday.
Derek Minner, Jesus, that name sounds so familiar. Derek Minner.
What is
Who did he fight?
happening?
Yeah, who did he just fight? Derek Minner.
Okay, I'm going to continue this.
Ryan Hall. That's right. He got dominated by Ryan Hall. Okay, that's right.
Okay, people are here for the
Whoa,
breakdown.
Rogue Streamer, $5.
Rogue
that was 20 versus
Strummer,
that's
thank you very much. $5 to Jacob. Appreciate you guys. Well, I appreciate you, even though you're only giving money to Jacob. He needs it. Look at him. Look at this. Like he's pale because he doesn't eat anything with nutrients. He can't afford
Only
the good stuff.
$9,990 more for rent tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Daniel Argueta. He's stepping up on short notice. Come Saturday, he'd be 3 weeks removed from a fight in LFA. He's short. He's stocky. He's a grappler who many times doesn't even bother striking. He just comes across the cage, wraps up your body, and muscles you to the ground. He has very nice pressure, and he leaves almost no space for his opponents to work up. He has one single game plan, and that is to get you to the ground and just absolutely pound away. Damon Jackson, he's on his second stint in the UFC, and this time around, he's got a pretty decent UFC resume. He's 3-1 with wins over Charles Rosa and Mirsad Bektik, and his loss to Ilia Topuria is pretty credible. That holds up pretty well, but he does rely on his wrestling and his grappling to win. But if you push that game plan against him, you wrestle him, you grapple him, you can have success. His takedown defense is only 35%. Jonathan Lindsay with the super chat. Let's get this rent paid for
The lights
Jacob.
are staying on, baby. Actually, we don't know if the lights are staying on. The rent, we might be able to swing the rent, but the lights
He's not
are
going to get
different
kicked
story.
out. Thank
The
you,
lights are
Jonathan.
different story.
Jacob appreciates it. Damon Jackson's
John.
takedown defense is only 35%, and I think Argueta is going to have success exploiting that, where Damon is going to entertain the striking and probably look good doing it. Argueta's not going to waste his time. He's not going to waste the time throwing any punches. He's going to come forward, immediately start grappling, and I like Argueta here. I like that game plan. The quick turnaround does worry me a bit, but Argueta's the pick. I think he gets this done. I don't know if I trust the money line, so I'm probably going to do a 3.5 bet, which I'll explain in a minute. But I like Argueta here, man. I think Damon Jackson, I hope I don't bump into him in the grocery store, but I think he's a little overrated. What do you think, Jakey?
There's no way you're serious, right? There's no way this is serious, right?
Okay, go ahead. Do your breakdown.
There's no way this is serious. Doesn't Damon Jackson, doesn't he watch the channel too? I mean, this guy, you're being super disrespectful to this guy that's been retweeting our stuff. I don't know. Damon, hey, man, I think you dominate this fight. I understand that Daniel is an aggressive wrestler. He is like, I have in my notes, he's like a little Clay Guida to me. He's like just boom, 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 like go. If he was like a true 145er, if this wasn't such short notice, I honestly, Angel, I can see that, right? I can see that what you are seeing. But he's undersized. It's short notice. He is just so aggressive that if you get over aggressive with a guy as good as the Leech, Damon Jackson, you're going to find yourself in some big trouble. I mean, the odds are the way they are for a reason. The fight is going to get to the ground, and I understand that Dan is, might end up on top or whatever, but he's going to be too aggressive. The Leech is here he's here for a reason, man. Damon Jackson's my guy. I think I actually picked against him in the Kamuela Kirk fight, and that backfired tremendously. I will never pick against a Leech again. Damon Jackson, if you're watching, you my dude, I appreciate you. You're going to dominate this fight, get a submission win, probably in the second round. I'm going Damon Jackson all the way. I understand what you're saying, so I don't want to trash it too much if he does win, but undersized, short notice, a little too aggressive, UFC debut. I don't see it, man. I don't see it.
Well, Just Wave became a member. Thank you very much for becoming a member. Anybody else who wants to, click the join button under the video. Listen, we have no DraftKings. We have no Monkey Knife Fight to break down. I just think you watch his fights, he just comes charging forward, shooting takedowns, and I think he can have some success doing that. And Just Wave, a $2 super chat. Thank you very much. He said he appreciates the breakdowns every week. Listen, it's a grind.
I think he's talking to me.
We appreciate you appreciating us. I think, like I said, bet-wise, I'm not going straight money line on Daniel Argueta. I think I will do a plus 3.5 bet. What that is I'm buying a round on the judge's scorecard. So all he needs to do is win one round. And he can win. With that wrestling, he can win a round. And if he wins a round, I win my bet.
I mean, you think that he should... I mean, you're acting like Damon Jackson's just
Dude, we had this exact same argument. Who was that other little jacked wrestler that I picked that won a round and honestly could have won the fight? Scored more points in DraftKings? It was like 3 months ago. It was like 3 months ago.
Jacked wrestler. It's got to be Ryan Hall, right?
Okay, anyway. It was like 3 months ago. Same exact breakdown. Same exact conversation. You guys said I was crazy. The dude won a round, and a lot of people think he won the fight. Anyway, weonpicks.com/bets. We have 5 partners. BetOnline offers the buy a round partner. You hop in through our links. We send you $50 as a thank you.
Little sanitizer boy. Ilya Taporia. Little sanitizer boy.
Next up at UFC Vegas 56, we have Joe Solecki taking on Alex De Silva. Joe Solecki 11-3 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off his first UFC loss. Alex De Silva is 21-3 overall. He's 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off a close loss to Brad Riddell, where he had 3 takedowns and 5 minutes of control time. And Joe Solecki's a very good grappler who leans heavily on his wrestling and his takedowns. When I first broke down Joe about a year ago, I called him Jim Miller 2.0, and that's still the case. That's exactly how he fights. He's very slick on the ground, and he really makes things happen with power and pressure and his transitions. But he has solid hands as well. His boxing is clean and crisp, and it isn't just there to set up takedowns. He will use his striking to win some of these fights. He'll lose to the more technically sound strikers, but he can beat the less technical ones. Alex De Silva is a slick striker with a wide array of attacks. He has fantastic speed and legit power. He has sort of a bouncing style that allows him to jump in, throw, and then immediately jump back out of the pocket. But he isn't just a striker. He has fantastic wrestling and grappling as well. His takedowns are really well timed, and he sneaks them in at the end of his combinations. As his opponents are looking to strike back at him, he'll throw his combination. As soon as they're about to, retaliate, he drops and he goes. And this is a really fun fight, and I think this is a really close fight as well. I think these odds are much farther than they need to be. Joe Solecki minus 170, which means he's like a 64% probability to win this fight. So 64% of the time he wins the fight. I don't think that's the case. I don't think he wins that often. I think this is a very close fight. Alex De Silva hits hard, has great takedowns, and his own slick jiu-jitsu. If you match him up for skill, I think De Silva is the much better striker. The wrestling advantage probably goes to Joe. BJJ, probably slight to Joe as well, but the power definitely to De Silva. But what is interesting about wrestling is it's not always the better wrestler who wins, and more often it's the person who takes the shot first, who initiates the wrestling first. It's much easier to finish a takedown than it is to defend a takedown. And I think Alex might take some of those shots early because if you look at their fights, even though Alex is a talented striker, he goes to his wrestling more often than Joe does. So the pick is really hard. I'm leaning Alex right now. I mean, I might feel completely different on Saturday, but right now I'm feeling Alex De Silva. This is another maybe plus 3.5 bet, or I'm not going to do this bet. So every time we give you bets, it's our bet. This one that I'm saying right now is I'm not going to do it. I mean, Saturday's my birthday. Maybe I do give it a shot, but this might be one of those, like, you can bet on it's a split decision. This might be Joe Solecki wins split decision or Alex De Silva wins a split decision, and those odds are always really, really fun. So I think it's a super close fight. I like Alex De Silva because I think he literally just has more ways to win. What do you think, Jacob Heim or Schmidt?
Yeah, this is another lock of the week candidate. Tune in Wednesday to find out who the lock of the week is. I'm going with Alex in this matchup. He is the underdog, but this guy, He has 21 wins, 20 finishes. He's 21 wins, 20 finishes. This guy is an animal. He's taken some time off. What's his layoff? Let me check here to make sure I have this right. Yeah, he hasn't fought since September of 2020, so we'll see what kind of shape he comes in, see if he's able to get one of those first-round early finishes. If he comes in sharp, he is an absolute animal, man. The weird stat about Joe Solecki is he either is a first-round guy or he is a decision guy. He has no fights that have ended in the second round, either wins or losses. So he either gets a first-round finishes, gets finished in the first round, or it goes to a decision. I think he has one win in the third round, but nothing in the second round. So what that tells me is something is going to happen in the second round of this fight. It just seems like that is what's going to happen in this matchup. I like Alex. The biggest key here is Joe Solecki is going to be able to kind of neutralize the grappling. That is his path to victory. Is if he can neutralize the grappling, you know, maybe he can squeak out a decision win because that's what he does. He's a first round or decision guy. Maybe he can squeak out the decision because Alex, with that aggressive nature, you see him kind of fade as the fight goes on. He's not necessarily just a first round or bust type of guy, but in his fights, you see the kind of back steps. He'll still kind of push forward and stuff, but you can see he gets a little bit tired in the second, especially in the third rounds. The thing that set it off to me, Angelo, and I mean, tell me you're not going to like this. I'll tell you this 100%. Alex de Silva, can you guess who his mentor was in Brazil, coming up as a young fighter, who mentored him and molded him and shaped him into this just striking, finishing phenom, one of the best strikers in the UFC, Angelo. You know who it is. Come on.
Who?
Darren Till was his mentor coming up in the regional scene. If Darren Till's on your side, you got to know that his striking is pristine. It's looking great. He's a striker. He's a wrestler. The guy is an absolute finisher. And I'll be honest with you guys, tune in Wednesday, but he is right now 1A for lock of the week. We're going to see what happens. I'm playing with a few other guys. I mentioned Johnny earlier, but Alex de Silva, I like him in this matchup. Joe Solecki, I don't see a lot from him. Maybe he can neutralize the grappling, but Alex is just so aggressive, so tough. The layoff worries me a little bit. I think it works out in his favor. I think he comes out aggressive, and he shows up big. I'm Alex.
I think the most surprising thing about this breakdown is that Darren Till was this young Brazilian boy's English. Darren Till was this.
Well, you know,
Brazilian
he was in he lived in Brazil forever.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy grew up. He was getting stabbed. He was getting stabbed. So they sent him to Brazil. So he was there for a while and then mentored this young man and turned him to an absolute animal. I mean, 20 finishes. It's crazy.
Okay. Well, DraftKings, I don't think you can go wrong in either direction, frankly. I think if you're very confident on your side, I think these guys score well because Joe Solecki, either one of them can finish. Joe Solecki can ride out a decision with a ton of points. Alex de Silva, probably not real decision candidate here, potentially. But, you know, that's why I said this might be even though I like Alex de Silva, this may be a split decision for Joe Solecki because Alex could have him almost dead to rights early and then fade as the fight goes on, and then Joe picks up steam and, you know, squeaks out a decision. But I think it's a super close fight. I think it's a really fun fight. And the Monkey Knife Fight strike line, I think it's more and more. I think this fight goes a little bit. I think they go at it. I think it's more and more. I think there's a good amount of exchange here. Joe, if you watch some interviews with him, he talks about coming off that loss. He's very practical. He's very logical about it. And he's like, listen, I lost that fight. I made mistakes. I'm frustrated with myself, but I didn't get my head taken off. So I'm going to come out here and I'm going to do more of the same, and I'm going to grind, and I'm going to try to get this win. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Do you have an opinion on the Monkey Knife Fight strike?
Anytime somebody talks like, oh, I think I did pretty well when they lose, that's a loser mentality. Joe Solecki is a loser.
Yeah, you know.
He's going to get finished in the second round. He's never been finished, or he's never had a fight in the second round. He's going to get finished in the second round.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely a loser mentality when people just don't take their losses, Jacob.
Right. I mean, the guy's got to be like, it was awful. I got to change. I got to do this. I got to do that. But he's like, oh, I thought I didn't get knocked out. So, gee golly, I did great.
Yeah, no, you definitely know about accountability in losses.
Absolutely.
Anyway, guys,
Absolutely.
If you want $50 for free, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. You sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, make a deposit. We send you $50. If you want to test out some daily fantasy and bet these strike lines, WeWantPicks.com/MKF. They'll instantly match your deposit. Use their free money, all sorts of free money. Use their free money. Play some of those strike lines. Next up, up at UFC Vegas 56.
Woo!
We have
Fight of the night, the people's fight, the people's
the
main event,
people's
baby.
main event. We have Felice Herrig taking on Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Felice Herrig is 14-9 overall. She's 2-3 in her last 5, with her last win being in 2017. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is 12-7 overall, 0-5 in her last 5, and her last win was actually against Felice Herrig all the way back in 2018. It's a weird matchup. Neither one of these women have won a fight in 4 years. I don't know what's going on here because this was a last-minute addition as well. They just added this fight like a week and a half ago. So this wasn't even a predetermined fight. But anyway, Felice Herrig, she's a pretty well-rounded fighter, and she's an OG in women's MMA. She's been a professional since 2009, and she's fought pretty much every decent fighter in the last 10 years. She's got solid takedowns, solid scrambles, solid kickboxing, and was one of the first well-rounded women on the scene. She's just not great anywhere. She's decent everywhere. She's not great anywhere. Very physically imposing and likes to bully her way to wins. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is a very good striker who at one point was a legit contender. And before this recent skid, she had some solid wins in the UFC, including one over former champion Rose Namajunas in 2016. Her last win was against Felice Herrig in 2018. She's a good kickboxer. She's got really solid technique and some good power for the division. And it's easy to say she's on a 5-fight losing skid and she's got nothing left and she's dead in the eyes and everything else that people are saying. But let's look at those 5 losses. She lost to former champion Jessica Andrade. She lost to Michelle Waterson. She lost to Alessa Grasso, Yan Xiaonan, and Jessica Panay. The Jessica Panay loss, that's a bad loss. The other losses are, no loss is good, but those hold up to this day. Those are solid losses, even though some of them were a while ago. I mentioned this is a rematch. Their first fight was pretty close. Karolina won a decision where neither woman had any success with their takedowns, but Karolina was able to outstrike Felice 140-97. It's borderline impossible to say what will happen in this fight. Karolina's the better fighter, but she hasn't looked like herself in years. Felice is scrappy. She's well-rounded. She's also been inactive because of some serious injuries. So it's not just like she's sitting around. She's literally been injured. She's finally coming back. This is a coin flip fight. Don't bet on it. I'm only making a pick because I have to. Nobody's a genius here. Nobody needs to pretend that they've got some scoop. And just watch this fight. Don't bet on it. What do you think, Jacob? But come on. I already see there's going to be people in the comments. This, that. No, because let's be real. This is all over.
So who did you pick?
I picked Felice. Did I not get to that point? I picked Felice literally because I just think she's got a little more fire. But Karolina's the better fighter. But I don't know if it's going to matter.
Yeah, I agree. I think Karolina's the better overall fighter. And as I mentioned at the start of this video, Karolina, I am still single. If you're watching this video, I appreciate. I've reached out. I'm in your DMs. Just go ahead and answer those DMs and let's get this started. If you were looking for a training partner, I'm great on the ground, great off my back. Anyway, I'm going with Karolina. I got no analysis. I mean, who the hell knows? I'm going with Karolina.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm not going to, like I said, nobody's a genius, and anybody pretending that they're a genius and pretending that they've got some spot on this fight is a buffoon. There's 14 fights on this card. There's no reason to put a flag in the ground on this fight. Neither one has won. 4 years since either one of them have had their hand raised. 4 years. We can't know what's going to happen here. So either way, just watch it, have some fun. I'm not even going to break down DraftKings. Do what the hell you want with this. I'm not touching it. Not touching the betting odds. Monkey knife fight, that actually might be worth something because I think they get past that. What did I say the striking was? In their last fight, the strikes were 140-97. So they blew past that pretty solid last time. They're a little older, a little slower. You take it down, and here's your strike line.
Right, and this is why Monkey Knife Fight is great. In a fight like this where you don't really know inside, you don't really know the bets aren't here. Monkey Knife Fight is there for you guys. Sign up, Monkey Knife Fights. You can play fights like this and still win some money on them.
Look at you turning into the pro. I don't need to do the over-the-top promos anymore. We have you now. You're going to throw on a crown and sell us a mattress. Anyway, weownpicks.com/MKF. You want to check out Monkey Knife Fight. And weownpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. You make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. weownpicks.com/bets. This is an interesting fight. Next up at UFC Vegas 56, we have Alonzo Menafield taking on Askar Mazharov. Alonzo Menafield is 11-3 overall. He's only 2-3 in his last 5, and he's coming off that decision loss to William Knight. Askar Mazharov, look at this record. He's 21-11, but he's not. That's his updated record. I'll show you on the next slide here what his record was just a few days ago. His record a few days ago was much better. It was 25-7. They took 4 of those wins, looked at him and said, oh, these aren't wins. These are losses. Moved them to the loss column. All of a sudden, all these early bettors that laid a ton of money on Askar looking a little foolish because you can't always trust Tapology. But Askar Mazharov is 21-11 overall. He's 4-1 in his last 5, and he's making his UFC debut after a year layoff. Alonzo Menafield has great power, great takedown defense, and is looking to take your head off with every single punch. Historically, the knock on him was his cardio, and we have definitely seen him gas in the past. But in his fight against Ed Hervin and even in the loss against William Knight, he showed that he can keep a pace for 15 minutes. Alonzo Menafield has power, speed, athleticism, an 83% takedown defense, and now he has cardio, which together makes him a pretty dangerous guy inside that cage. Askar Mazharov is an athletic striker with a good amount of power. He's not the most technical striker, but he does put power behind pretty much all of those strikes. He has okay pure grappling, but his takedown defense is just literally strength-based. There's not real technique. His hips aren't where they're supposed to be. He's just using his muscles to try to keep this fight in his feet. It's interesting, and I'm not, there's no narrative here. I'm not trying to accuse anybody of anything, but look at Askar's physique right now. Look at him just a few years ago when he was a 185-pounder. He looked like Jacob. Now he looks like this. Very quick turnaround, very quick bulk up. And then he gets the call up to the UFC, and he took a full year off before coming in. I know nothing. This is analysis based off pictures. I feel like something's fishy going on, and there were some substances involved here. That coupled with the fishy record thing, that just
he
happened.
Actually looks like the Liver King. You know the Liver King guy? You see him?
Yeah.
I think he just eats liver. He just eats testicles and all sorts of stuff. You eat testicles, right? I mean, recreationally, not as like a hobby.
Anyway, Askar, the record thing, that's new. That literally just happened today.
Woo, red flag.
Plus the physique thing, that's a little sketchy because I almost immediately picked Askar against Menafield because he's powerful. He'll bang. He's actually pretty creative with his strikes. And I basically thought this would be the Alonzo Menafield-William Knight fight that we thought we were going to get, not the decision. But the more I dug into it, I saw the first-rounder bust tendencies out of Askar. Now we know the dramatic size increase. Now we know his record is a little fishy. But Menafield being knocked out by St. Preux, that worries the hell out of me because Razov throws with absolute intent. So I think this is a really close fight. I am going to pick Alonzo here because of the UFC experience. There's just too many unknowns, too many red flags with Askar here. Betting-wise, I bet 1 full unit already on the fight does not go the distance. It's minus 350. Traditionally, I would never bet a minus 350 because that's just too wide. But if you watch that betting video I did with Chris Riley, we talk about converting these odds into probabilities, and you look at it that way. And a minus 350 bet means it converts to 77% probability. So that means, do you think, this is a real question to you, Jacob. Jacob, do you think this fight...
I don't think this is getting out of the first round. So let me cut you off.
More than 77% of the time. So I don't think this fight goes to the distance 90% of the time. So minus 350 sounds like a lot, but once you convert it to probability, 77%, yeah. 100%.
I would put 3.5 units on that to get a unit back. Honestly, I mean that seems like the safest bet. I don't think that I literally don't see this getting out of the first round. Were you done? I didn't.
Go
know
ahead.
If, I didn't want to
do
cut
your
you off.
breakdown. I'm done. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, we mentioned there's so many red flags with Askar. Did you pick? You picked Alonso, I assume, right?
I did, but like, let's be real. He can get knocked out, no problem. Like, this is another fight. I said in the last fight, nobody's a genius here. I can offer the insight. I can raise those red flags. But Alonzo Menafield gets knocked out. He makes some poor decisions in fights, but he also hits like a freight train, and we know Askar's record is fake. So that's why I bet the round, and I'm not betting on the fighter themselves.
Yeah, his record is fake, and if you look at some of the people he's fought, those guys look like they have never fought. You mentioned the 185. He looked like he's fighting me in some of those fights. Like, he comes over, just blitzes forward, throws these wild bombs, knocks people out, and then you look at the people he's fighting, and you're like, oh, well, yeah, that's typically what happens when you fight somebody at that level. You know, we talked about this earlier today, Angelo. For some reason, I cannot stand Alonzo Menafield. I don't know what it is. People talk about it in the chat about his fight IQ, the way he got knocked out by OSP, the way he was kind of getting manhandled a little bit by William Knight in that fight. You know, Ed Herman. I don't like.
I thought he looked good in the end. You and I did talk about this. I said he looked good against Ed Herman. He had cardio. He controlled that fight.
I would hope so.
Ed Herman's a vet.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope you would look good again. If you're looking like that, Alonzo Menafield, I would hope that you're looking good against, fluffy Ed Herman. But there's something about this fight that I know there's so many red flags about Askar. He's gonna come over and just blitz Alonzo Menafield, and something is going to happen in the first round. And I'm gonna take the aggressor in this fight. I see Alonzo Menafield, eyes wide open. Let's fight. It's going to be like, oh shit, because this monster of a guy, neck tattoo. We'll see how he looks Friday on the scale.
Yeah, let's see how he looks.
This is definitely one of those scale. Let's check the scale, see if he's looking a little loose, looking a little flabby, see what the nipples are looking like.
Yeah, exactly. A little deflated.
So we'll see what he looks like on Friday. We might, make sure you tune in Saturday. I might change this pick, even though I agree with what Angelo said. This is like one of those fights where it's like, who the hell knows what's going to happen? Alonzo Menafield, if you cannot beat this guy, I don't know what the hell you're doing, because this guy's just going to come forward. The counters will be there. He's not a technical guy. He's not a cardio guy. He's not a wrestling guy.
Way he caught. Oh, never mind. I was thinking of William Knight.
Yeah, there you go. So, if you cannot beat this guy, you shouldn't be in the UFC. This is tailor-made to, but I mean, he throws some wild shit. So I'm going with Askar. The red flags are there. I understand it. We'll see how he looks Friday. I'm going to take the aggressor. I just can't stand Alonzo Menafield as a fighter.
Listen, I like Alonzo Menafield as a fighter, but I hear you. Listen, pick your side here in DraftKings, because no matter what side you're on, you'll get your money's worth, right? If Alonzo Menafield wins this fight, he's worth $8,700 for sure. It's going to be a knockout. If Askar wins this fight, well, that's a great $7,500 to spend. So whoever's winning this fight is going to get a knockout, and they'll get it out. They'll get it somewhat early, so they'll get some solid. You'll get some solid value out of them. Are you going to throw Askar in your lineup at that price?
He's definitely a multi-lineup, but probably not for my single entry, I would say.
You've won our Friends League 2 weeks in a row?
I think it's been like 10 in a row.
Yeah, okay. This week off destroyed you, I'm sure. There goes all your mojo. The Monkey Knife Fight strike line, I'm not touching it. I think these guys swing actual wild, so I'm not going to touch this strike line here. But if you want to touch it, weonpicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit. Take their money. You give them 20, they give you 20. Take their free 20. Spend it on some lines. They're free money. It costs you nothing. It's completely risk-free.
I think this is a less 100%. If you want, there's one highlight for Askar in a boxing ring where he gets pushed up against the ropes. He's throwing bombs in a boxing ring, getting his arm caught on the top rope and throwing bombs with the rope on his arm. It's crazy. Literally, he doesn't try to get it loose. This guy is so untechnical. Literally, the rope is caught and he's just like, fuck it. And just keep throwing bombs with the rope on his arm. The guy is wild.
Well, that rage will do that to you. And if you want 50 free bucks, wewontpicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. Next up, we have Poliana Botelho taking on Karine Silva. Poliana Botelho is 8-4 overall, 2-3 in. Here we go. Jay Wee.
Here we go. Keep the good work.
Jay Wee with the $2 super chat saying, keep up the good work. my dudes. Thank you very much, Jay Wee. We appreciate the support greatly. Next up at UFC Vegas 56, we have Poliana Botelho taking on Karolina Silva. Poliana Botelho is 8-4 overall, 2-3 in her last 5, coming off tough losses to Luana Karolina and Jillian Robertson. Karine Silva is 14-4 overall, 5-0 in her last 5, coming off a stoppage win on the Contender Series. And Poliana Botelho is a creative striker who at times can try to be fancy or showboaty, but it ends up just being sloppy. She's definitely a solid prospect, though, and you can tell she's learning and improving with each fight. She looks better every single time she's out there. Because of her creativity, though, she doesn't have the greatest fight IQ because she'll just spend too much time trying to be fun and creative than actually trying to get her 1s and 2s out there. She likes to fight at distance, but she can work in wrestling and grappling. She was able to take down Luana Karolina in a very close loss and Lauren Miller twice in a win. Karolina Silva is a powerful grappler who's constantly working towards submissions, both from top and the bottom. Nothing reinforces that more than knowing all 14 of her wins are by stoppage. She will just plot forward with a tight guard, so just real tight guard, throw a flurry of punches, rush in, and then body clinch, cage work you to the ground. She's constantly working for position and then submission when she gets down there. And she is tricky, though, because she can chase submissions, which can get her in the scrambles she doesn't want to be in and end up on her back. Like, for example, I watched her ditch half guard. So she's on top in half guard. She ditched it for an ankle lock, didn't submit with the ankle lock, and then she spent a good amount of the round on bottom on her back. Those are not the scrambles you want to get in, especially not in the UFC with UFC judges because they will hate that. And I mentioned that Poliana she honestly is a prospect. She improves. She's improving at a steady pace, and I do believe that. But in this matchup, it's a little tricky. I do think she's faster. I think she has cleaner striking and better footwork. But I also think Karine is more powerful, more willing to grapple, and can just beat Poliana the exact same way that Jillian Anderson beat Poliana. Plenty of takedowns. Plenty of control time. So Karine is the pick. And I already threw a money line bet on her at minus 115. And it seems to be moving, just not a ton. What do you think, Jackaloots?
Yeah, I think this is simply, if the fight stays on the feet, I think it's a Poliana fight. And if it goes to the ground, I think this is a Silva fight because Poliana is probably the better striker. She's been working on her wrestling, and she tried to show that off in her last fight, and she was able to get the takedowns, but she lost that fight because she was getting takedowns and getting reversed and was ending up on her back in that fight. So if she tries to show off her wrestling again, I could see her getting reversed. Silva is very, very dangerous on the ground, as you mentioned. Even in her guard, if she ends up losing a scramble, ends up on her guard against somebody like Poliana, I think she has success in her guard. She's a very dangerous guard in that right as well. So if you're Poliana, I know that you've been working on your wrestling. You've been trying to show off your wrestling, your grappling. Keep this on your feet. 1s and 2s. Keep her at distance. Win a boring decision. But I think that she comes in, and this fight finds its way to the ground, and Silva finds a submission win. I don't know if I'm going to play the submission win, but I think that this is going to turn into a grappling match, and Silva is just heads and shoulders above Poliana on the ground. So I think she gets it done.
Yeah, I mean, we're aligned on the pick here. The bet.
What's the phrase that's heads and tails? Isn't there like heads and tails? I know, obviously, that's a coin flip.
Two sides of a coin, dude. Grow up.
I know that, but I thought there was...
Grow up. It's how you do your picks. Thing. Anyway.
Well, it's working out.
I've already got that money line bet on Karine Silva. DraftKings, I think she's worth $8,200 because I think she's live for a finish. I think she gets a ton of control time. I really like her here quite a bit. So... I'll definitely have her in my DraftKings lineup. And then Sean V posted something saying that these $8,000 versus $8,200 fights on DraftKings make the optimals often. So I guess it sounds like you need to have one of these two in your lineup. I will have Karine in mine, and it's probably more and more in Monkey Knife Fight. Especially these female fights do tend to go the distance. I think it's more and more. What do you think?
I'd be careful with the Monkey Knife Fight, but I agree. I think Silva might be one of the better values top to bottom on the DraftKings lineup. When you look at level of competition that people are facing and the price that she is and how dangerous she can be, I think $8,200 for her is a very, very good value.
Yeah. I hear you. Monkey Knife fight, I think it's more and more. If you think this fight goes to a distance, it's definitely more and more. Go to weonpicks.com/MKF. Sign up, give that a try, see what happens. And if you want 50 free bucks, weonpicks.com/bets. You sign up there, you make a deposit. I send you $50 as a thank you. Ooh, hold on. Next up at UFC Vegas 56, we have the feature fight of the evening. We have Mike Trizano taking on Lucas Almeida. Mike Trizano 9-2 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off a decision loss to Hakeem Dawodu. Lucas Almeida is 13-1 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, making his official UFC debut after a failed Contender Series bid about 7 months ago. Mike Trizano's an Ultimate Fighter winner. He's a fun forward pressure striker with some real power and lots of energy. He keeps his power late into fights and is constantly pressuring forward. He's a calculated striker who does a good job mixing in that power and his speed. He can put his foot on and off the gas pedal, and he has an impressive fight IQ. If you go back to his win over Ludovic Klein, he sat on that stool between rounds, knew he was down, and said, I need to turn it up to win this. And that's literally what he did. He turned it up, took that next round, and won that fight. He's coming off that loss to Hakeem Dawodu, where he just lost a technical striking match, but we did see him work in some grappling. Lucas Almeida is a powerful striker who loves throwing a heavy 1-2. He loves coming forward and setting up a big right hand. When he sees blood and when he senses blood, he will literally drop his hands, march forward, and just throwing whatever he needs
like
to
a
try
dog
to get that
with the
finish.
bone.
Like a dog. Look at you growing up, learning, becoming a real man. You're flowering. Look at you.
I can feel my balls dropping right now.
But Lucas Almeida is aware enough to know that he's a striker and not a grappler. He manages ground control well on top, but if his opponents start to get their wits about them, start to create a scramble, he stands right up and he resets. His takedown defense is just okay, but what I love that he does is he makes you pay for those entries. If you shoot a takedown on him and he stuffs it, he will blast you on the way out to get you questioning if you even want to shoot again. And this should be a really fun striker versus striker matchup. We got two guys who don't back down. I do like Mike Trizano here because this is the type of fights that he wins. He beats these brawling style strikers. It's the tight technical strikers like Dawodu that give him trouble that he loses to. But these brawling strikers like Lucas Almeida, Mike Trizano can have some luck there. So Lucas is, he's a headhunter. I think Trizano's more technical. I think he'll work the body and then the head, and I think he can get it done. So I do like Trizano here, but I'm not loving these odds. And when I first did this breakdown on Sunday, he was minus 250, and now he's down to minus 210. So some money has come in on Lucas Almeida just in the last few days. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually don't hate that play, Lucas Almeida. I'm not going to pick Lucas Almeida. I mean, the play is Mikey T. But that last fight, he didn't look great. He was pretty much a step behind that entire fight. Obviously, that was against a very good competition. He was outstruck 2-1, 190-90. Just crazy outstruck. And this is a dangerous matchup for him. If you're Mikey T going into this matchup, you have to be thinking decision. Let me just win a decision. Decision. Be technical. Don't try to get in these firefights because this Lucas guy will blitz you early and will overextend on his shots. And the counters will be there. Get out of the way. Get your counter. Get back. Distance yourself again. And then wait for the next firefight. Counter again and get away. Get a decision win. Because if you're trying to finish this guy and you're trying to get in these firefight exchanges, Lucas has some big power. He's listed at 155. This is a 145 fight. I don't know if he goes back and forth. I think this is UFC debut, so we'll see. Maybe he is just he kind of goes up and down, but maybe he brings that power down with him if he's a bigger guy. This is a Mike Trizano play. I think it's a dangerous fight for him because of the pressure and power that Lucas can bring to the fight. He can bring the fight to Mike, and if he baits Mike into those firefights, Mike could find himself in some trouble. So if you're Mike, decision. Get in and out of those firefights. Be technical, as Angelo said. Maybe work in some takedowns. Win a decision. I'm Mikey T. I think this is a little bit more dangerous, and maybe that's why some money there is coming in for Lucas, but I'm Mikey T.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the odds, but I do like Mike Trizano. I hate him at $9,100. No way am I spending that. I mean, Lucas Almeida's 13-1. He's very dangerous. He's looking to take your head off in fights, and he has no problem making it ugly and dirty. And like I said, Mike Trizano seems to have some success in those matchups, but it is not easy to avoid a brawl with somebody who's trying to brawl. So no chance I spend $9,100 in DraftKings on Mike Trizano. You seem to agree. You nodded your head.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the offer. No, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Jester had a great comment, said that you and Mikey T are going to go out and get yourselves an Angelo after the fight.
Oh, I bet that guy loves a good Angelo sandwich. Anybody who doesn't know what Angelo sandwich is, I am from Newtown, Connecticut. If you go to any of the delis in Newtown, any of them, you look at the board, Angelo sandwich. It is literally named after me. I coached in that town forever.
It's bologna, cheese, and mustard.
And
on rye bread.
I coached the one deli owner's son, and then he expanded to 2 delis, and then they got sold. But the sandwich is such a hit, people pick it up. If you go to Yelp right now and look up the Newtown Deli in Newtown, Connecticut, one of the top reviews is, love the Angelo sandwich. It's my sandwich. I invented
everyone
it.
Leave a 1-star review for the Angelo sandwich and get it off the menu. Let's get that thing off the menu.
It is a chicken cutlet. If you don't know, you Southerners, that's just fried chicken breast. It's a chicken cutlet, roasted red peppers, fresh mutts, the good thick stuff, and a balsamic glaze on a hard roll. And if you don't know what a hard roll is, it's Connecticut.
And if you go to Pornhub.com and search the Jacob, there is a move that I have mastered that there is thousands of videos
everywhere
that people are just working the Jacob in, and it's fantastic. You guys got to look it up. It's better than the Angelo, I'll tell you that.
You guys want to go buy an Angelo sandwich? It's on me. All you need to do is go to wewantpicks.com/bets. You sign up, you make a deposit. I'll send you $50. You can go ahead and get yourself a couple Angelo sandwiches. wewantpicks.com/bets. I mean, the sandwich is legit good. Didn't you have it when you visited?
I wouldn't eat that shit.
Because you're afraid of new foods, you muppet.
I got the chicken
My
tenders, I think.
southern Texas wife had that, and it changed her life. Anyway.
I thought you
Next
changed
up,
your life. Not for the better.
Not for the better. Next up at UFC Vegas 56, we have the co-main event of the evening. We have Dan Ige taking on Movsar Evloev. Dan Ige 15-5 overall. Movsar Evloev, what the hell is he? 15-0. 15-0. Solid matchup with these two guys. Dan Ige is the real deal. He has fantastic kickboxing with speed and power, as well as takedowns and jiu-jitsu. He's exactly what modern mixed martial artists should be. He's good everywhere. He was on an incredible 6-fight win streak before a few bumps in the road. But if you look at who he beat and who he lost to, he beat Mirsad Bektic, who honestly, a lot of people have beaten him at this point, but he's an incredibly talented fighter if you watch those fights. He beat Edson Barboza, who we all know is incredible. He knocked out Gavin Tucker with one punch. And he lost to Calvin Kattar, who we know is a killer, and the Korean Zombie. So Dan Ige is very good. Movsar Evloev is a killer. He's a fantastic wrestler who uses his striking really well to set up his takedowns. He will keep his punches long, meaning he throws a right hand and he keeps it extended. And while that's extended, he lowers his level, shoots the legs with his left hand, and then shucks the head with his right hand. It's actually beautiful the way that he does that. And it's very different from what most people do. Most people either shoot the takedown while throwing the right hand. So they go left, right, and they're already lowering the level trying to shoot the takedown. Or they left, right, bring it back, and then shoot. He leaves it out there, shoots the leg, shoves the head out of the way with his right hand.
I like flying triangles. That's kind of my go-to.
I bet you do. And those little setups and his incredible chain wrestling is why Movsar Evloev averages 4 takedowns per fight, and he had 9 against Hakeem Dawodu. And a lot of you love Dan Ige here. I've been seeing the comments for 2 weeks now. Dan Ige's my lock. Dan Ige's my... You people love Dan Ige in this fight. And I'm sure you all loved him, when he fought Josh Emmett too. Same exact people. Dan Ige's going to smoke Josh. Dan Ige. And that's just not how that fight went down. But what did surprise me in that last fight is that he actually took Josh Emmett down. All of a sudden, Dan Ige is initiating those wrestling exchanges. And if that's the game plan here, it's not necessarily impossible that he has success, because as great of an offensive wrestler Movsar is, He does get taken down. Nick Lentz took him down in a split decision. Mike Grundy took him down 6 times. But with that being said, I am very confident that Movsar wins this fight. And I do think he wins his 6th UFC decision. So I bet Movsar Evloev wins by decision at -155. I already threw a full unit on that because that's the only way this guy's winning fights, and I'm positive he's going to win this fight. So easy bet for me. I did it at Bet Online. If you want to check that out, weonpicks.com/bets. You sign up with any of our partners, I give you $50. Jakey boy, what do you think of Movsar's wrestling, and why is he going to take down Danny?
Well, I think that when people sign up, it's free money. That's $50 free. I don't understand why anyone would not sign up. It's literally free.
Man, look at you. So, I literally paid Jacob on Saturday or Sunday. When did I pay you? Monday? I don't know. I paid him the other day, and now look at him doing all the play. He got a little taste, and now
we gotta get after it, guys. Sign up, please. Like I said, rent's due tomorrow. We had $15 in donations. I need 15 people to sign up tonight, please. If you have not signed up, rent is due tomorrow. Anyway, so here, Default said that Danny Ige is a bum. Danny Ige is not a bum. The guy's never been finished in 20 pro fights, which is really an incredible feat, especially against the competition that he's faced. I'm a huge Dan Ige guy. I even tweeted like a week or so ago, like Dan Ige lock of the week. I'm a big Danny. I love Dan Ige. He was like my Pat Sabatini before Pat Sabatini. Dan Ige is my guy. When I look at this fight, I don't see a path to victory for Dan. I just do not see it. If Evloev was a guy that was a finisher, if he was a guy that is finishing people in the first round, just putting people away and put people away, I would look at this fight and say, oh, Danny Ige can survive. He's very, very good everywhere, as Angelo said. His jiu-jitsu is incredible. His grappling is very, very good as well. Maybe Danny Ige can grind out the first round, get Evloev tired, win the second round, win a decision. But Evloev is not a finishing guy. He is also a decision guy. He just gets on people's back and just kind of takes his time. He's hanging out, having a good time, threatening submissions. Will just sit there, punch you in the head, look for your neck. If he was a finishing guy, I could see Dan Ige as being that guy that could turn that tide, get him tired, win a second round, squeak out the third round for a weird decision win. Unfortunately, Evloev is so good, man. He is so he is one of those real deal guys. I cannot believe that he does not have more finishes because he's so dominant in the way that he wrestles. You know, maybe Dan Ige ends up on top, throws a weird elbow, gets him hurt, and all of a sudden the tides are changing. I'm going to be rooting for Dan Ige. I love Dan Ige. He's very, very good everywhere. I don't know if he's going to get finished. He's probably not going to get finished. Evloev's not a finisher. Dan Ige has never been finished. You know, blah, blah, blah. I got to go Evloev in this matchup, unfortunately. If Dan Ige wins, great. Nothing against Evloev, but I just don't see where people are saying, oh, Dan Ige, how does he win? Angelo, how does he win? I don't know. Maybe a weird submission, but Evloev is just too good, too controlling. He knows what he's doing.
No, Evloev is great. I'm so glad that this is the fight because Evloev was supposed to fight Ilia Topuria like a couple months ago, and that fell apart.
You want to talk about a bum. Ilia Topuria, Mr. Hand Sanitizer. That dude is clueless. Early stoppage versus Ryan Hall was about to get heel hooked. Unbelievable.
Anyway, I'm glad that fight didn't happen because I love both those guys. They're both big-time prospects. So, you know, listen, it's unfortunate for Dan Ige, who's fantastic, but I think Movsar does what he does. But Dan Ige is a legit tough vet, so we'll see what he can pull off. $9,400, that's a lot of money to spend, but I think it's worth it. There's a ton of takedowns here, a ton of control time, and DraftKings loves that. You're making a face.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that because it's going to be...
Dude, he took down...
Is Dan Ige, I know he's going to get the takedowns, but it might be one per round, and then the whole time, Dan Ige is so well-versed on the ground that it might just be a lot of... I know it's control time.
He had 9 takedowns against Dawodu. He averages 4 per fight.
I know that,
I think he takes down Dan Ige over and over. And Dan Ige being good at jiu-jitsu only helps him try to scramble up, and then Movsar getting another takedown.
I don't know.
All right, well, I'm going to spend the $9,400 in DraftKings.
Out of respect for Dan Ige, he's not going to be in my lineup. Dan, I love you.
And Movsar, listen, 108 strikes. I think that's too high. That's definitely a less. I think we have a less situation on Monkey Knife Fight because I think Dan Ige will get the strikes off, will make things happen. And I think he is very mobile on bottom, so he's going to force Movsar to scramble more and grapple more.
Power bottom
and not really
power bottoms.
and not really have the freedom to bomb away. So I like the less more on Monkey Knife Fight, so I have no problem splitting it. What do you think? You agree? Okay.
Cool. Okay.
All right. He's brazy.
It's late. It's past my bedtime.
And if you want to check out Monkey Knife Fight, go to weonpicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit. I like the less more here if you want to go ahead and play that.
Sign up, guys.
Next up at UFC Vegas 56, we have the main event of the evening. We have Alexander Volkov taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Alexander Volkov, 34-10. He's 3-2 in his last 5. He's coming off a submission loss to Tom Aspinall. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, 12-3 overall, 2-3 in his last 5. He's coming off a canceled fight with Marcin Tybura and a loss to Curtis Blades before that. Alexander Volkov is a top 10 heavyweight, and he has been for the better part of 5 years. He's a very good striker. He's a very high IQ fighter who has fast hands and solid volume. He picks his shots well, and he will adapt in a fight. He's not a big power guy, but his volume and timing do suit him well enough to get finishes. And despite the last-minute loss to Derek Lewis, he does have a good chin, and he's a very durable guy. Jairzinho Rozenstruik is a very heavy-handed striker. He's coming off a one-sided loss to Curtis Blades, but before that, he had a nice win over Augusto Sakai. And what was really cool or interesting or nice about that win over Augusto Sakai is we saw Jairzinho pushing the pace. He was the one moving forward because historically, Rozenstruik is a counter striker who waits and then he falls behind on the scorecards. Then he either loses a decision or just lands that big punch and gets it done there. And then the biggest issue with Rozenstruik's style is if he's just so one-dimensional with the striking. If he can't win those exchanges, he doesn't have a backup plan. He's not going to go to his wrestling. He has 0 takedowns in the UFC. He does have a solid takedown defense at 75%, but he has been taken down by all the better guys in the division, not even just wrestlers. Gane took him down. Alistair Overeem took him down as well. And it's a very interesting fight because a lot of people are giving up on Volkov, saying he looked terrible in his last few fights and he's on the downside of his career. But I just don't see it that way at all. Like, yes, he lost to Tom Aspinall, but Tom's a killer, and he out-grappled Volkov. Before that, he lost to Curtis Blades. But again, he was out-grappled there, and before that, he lost to Cyril Gane. But Cyril's movement was insane in that fight, and obviously, Cyril was the interim champion for a little bit. So I think Volkov plays a long technical striking game here with Rozenstruik. I think he can win that fight. Frankly, even if Volkov wanted to mix in some takedowns, like he did against Stefan Struve and Fabricio Verdum, he'll have some success. So the one and only thing that worries me for Volkov in this matchup is the Derek Lewis loss. He was dominating, literally seconds away, got clipped. And that's, honestly, Jairzinho Rozenstruik almost fights the exact same way. But I'm going Volkov here, man. I trust his fight IQ. I think he's the far better fighter, and I think he's going to avoid the knockout. A lot of you are just trashing Alexander Volkov. But I love him here. I think he gets it done, and you're shaking your head. You disagree.
No, I can't believe that people are trashing Volkov.
Oh.
I'm a big Volkov guy. The guy will beat, in a kickboxing match, he's going to beat 99% of the division. He only loses a kickboxing match to Cyril Gane, who's going to beat everyone else pretty much in a kickboxing match. And you mentioned the Derek Lewis fight. I know he got knocked out in that fight, but it actually shows how good he is because he was able to keep the distance for 2.5 or two. I mean, almost completely
he literally
3
lost
rounds.
with seconds left.
Yeah, and he just got a little aggressive. I think he was trying to put a stamp on the fight because he dominated that. He was coming to get forward a little bit too much. I think he learned his lesson in that fight. If you're in a kickboxing match versus Volkov, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. And obviously anything can happen. Biggie Boy's got big power, but I cannot believe how many people are so high on Biggie Boy. When I put that poll up for Lock of the Week, who's going to be Lock of the Week, I think Biggie Boy might have been number one, honestly. People are so high. I know it's kind of what have you done for me lately, and we saw Volkov, get finished in his last fight, but Biggie Boy's not going to take him down in arm bar or whatever, Volkov. It's going to be a kickboxing distance fight. Volkov is going to be putting the front kicks out there, coming with the jab, point him to death, avoid the knockout, and he's going to win this fight. I think he wins it pretty handily. When Volkov is on his game in a kickboxing match, when he's able to find his rhythm, you can't touch the guy. You can't. You saw what happened with Derek Lewis. He couldn't touch him. He couldn't touch him. And once he did touch him, I mean, it hurt a little bit, but he couldn't touch him for almost 3 entire rounds. So I think it's more of the same in this fight. Volkov is very, very underrated as a fighter. I think it's a Volkov play 100% all the way. We might, if we're going to look stupid, I'm happy to look stupid with you, Angelo.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is not a bad pick. Like, you know, obviously Jairzinho Rozenstruik has got big power, and anytime you got 2 heavyweights and one of them's got big power, you go for it. And Monkey Knife Fight, first of all, I think it's probably more and more on the strike line. I think this goes to a decision, and I think they can get past that strike line.
But if you want, Volkov's only 33, which is kind of crazy.
I was going to say that as well.
Yeah, he seems like one of those guys that's like 38, 39. Okay, he just lost on the tail end. He could be just get going, man. He's just going.
No, I completely agree. And listen, Monkey Knife Fight, we talk about the strike line, but this could be a knockout Kings play for Rozenstruik. I think Alexander Volkov wins this fight, but the beauty of knockout Kings in Monkey Knife Fight is you can pick any 3 fighters on the entire card. So you don't need to win all of them. You just need one of those 3 to win by KO or TKO. And then you'll
sign
go
up
ahead
for Monkey Knife Fight if nothing else.
Make some money.
This is serious for Knockout Kings, because Knockout Kings is so easy. You only have to get one of 3, and I mean, you guys are so smart. I know everyone in this chat can easily pick one of 3 people to get a knockout on this card. So,
well, it's KO.
I mean, sign up and Jesus.
It's KO or TKO, which is nice because we have a couple dominant wrestlers. Anyway, if you do want to check that out,
We got the smartest chat on YouTube. Sign up, pick somebody, pick 3 people to get. You get one, and you're winning money. That's so easy to sign up. Monkey Knife Fight. Come on, guys. Rent's due tomorrow.
I paid Jacob, and now look at him. He's thirsty for the cash. Anyway, that's weonpicks.com/MKF. The DraftKings line, I have to look at what Volkov scores in these decision wins, because I think it's a decision win. There's going to be no control time, no real takedowns. It's just going to be strike, 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 a million strikes. I got to see what Volkov scores in that, because if he scores well in that, then, you know, in similar fights, then I'll have him in my DraftKings lineup, but that's what it'll come down to.
He's going to be in mine.
Okay, cool. We already mentioned Monkey Knife Fight, so that's the breakdown, guys. Thank you so much for checking it out. If you want $50 free, go to weonpicks.com/bets. You sign up, you make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you. Any last words, Jake?
No, I just want to say to all my single ladies out there, again, my Instagram, Twitter, JT_lines, hit me up. Let's get something going. You know, I'm a good guy. Angelo, right? I'm a good guy. Right? A little weird at times.
I would say you're a good guy who...
Got a hammer. I mean...
Okay. Anyway.
Onlyfans.com/thefreckled salamander. Check it out.
You honestly should just make one at this point and just have it do like what Chase...
Chase Hooper's, somebody sent me, I don't know if she's in the chat, but she sent me Chase Hooper's OnlyFans, the screenshots for him. It's just regular pictures. It's free, so he just does it, I think, just to do it. But
so you should do that because you keep pushing Freckled Salamander.
The Freckled Salamander, that would be good. And then every once in a while, throw a little $5 to unlock this, and we'll see who signs up. I know Jester will spend it. It'll be one view, Jester. I appreciate the support, Jester.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you later this week.